What's going on? It's Andy Blanks again from Youth Ministry 360 with our Lesson 3 Teacher Prep video for Jesus and Your Image. I hope you are rolling right along. I hope you've had two really good lessons. And I think you'll find that this lesson, out of all the 4 lessons, I think this one is maybe the most straightforward. I don't want to say easy or simple, but it's just really kind of cuts right to the chase. And I think it will really resonate with your students. So I think you'll find maybe this one. Last lesson might have been a little difficult to teach depending on how your group handled it. I said in a good way. You know, we talked about brokenness, if you recall, and you know, maybe that made for a little bit of an interesting environment in your classroom. Again, I hope it was great, or wherever you teach. But this lesson may be a little more straightforward. It's going to set up lesson 4 really nicely. But this lesson is all about the idea that it's sort of that old cliche, right? Actions speak louder than words, or you know, you got to walk the walk, that sort of thing, right? If you're going to talk the talk, right? It's the idea that we project an image, and hopefully that your students are projecting images as Christ followers, but that their actions and what people perceive them doing are going to reinforce that image, or they're going to detract from that image. And it's basically this idea that, look, if we say we're Christ followers and our actions don't line up with it, people are just going to be all over that. Throw the H word out, right? Hypocrite, that nobody likes to be called, right? And so anyway, I think it's an interesting concept for your students. It's going to be out of Luke 6, where Jesus, real simple, Jesus, the parable of the fruit tree, right? Where Jesus says, hey, a good tree doesn't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree doesn't produce good fruit. He says, you know, a tree is known by the fruit it produces. And that's sort of the point that we're talking about here, that as Christ followers, we have the Holy Spirit in our lives, producing sort of the fruits of the Spirit, making us more Christ-like day in and day out. And if we profess to be Christ followers, if we're living that image that is Christ-centered and not us-centered, people are going to be watching our students and looking at see if their actions match up. As I've talked with teenagers over the years about this, there have been instances where, I can think of one in particular, where kind of comically a student said, hey, you know what, it's not fair. It's not fair that people watch me more closely because I profess to be a Christ follower. And I totally understand what he's saying, right? I mean, I don't think he was asking for license to sin. I think he was kind of saying, it kind of stinks that we're judged more harshly. And it's really, we know why, right? People are waiting to watch us fail. They're waiting to point out, to say, hey, you know, what you're saying is not true, yada, 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 right? And this is probably as good a time as any to say, and we make this clear in a lesson, we're not talking about salvation here. We're certainly not talking about living perfect lives. Listen, we all have a sin nature. We don't have to act right to come to God. We're saved by faith through God's grace. This is about living out that daily fruit. And we want to challenge your students to live a life that matches their image. If they're projecting that Christ-like image, they need to think about the things they're doing. Think about their attitudes, their actions. Think about how they interact with others. And really try to be conscious of, again, with perfection not being attainable, and nobody's saying that, but being conscious of their day in and day out actions and how that's lining up with their image. So again, it's a simple application. We're just going to have them think about it, have them evaluate, have them kind of step back and think about their recent interactions with others and whether or not they were really communicating the truth of Christ and actions that line up with Christ's character, or if there's some areas of their life that they can re-examine. So I think it's a really, again, straightforward lesson. I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's going to be pretty relevant to your students and easy to apply. So I hope it goes very well. We're here for you. I always end like this. If you want to call us, live chat us, email us. We're here to answer any questions you may have about your lesson, about preparation, anything like that. Praying that your lesson goes well. I'm going to see you again, I hope, for our last teacher prep video for Jesus and Your Image. Take care.